Welcome to the African News and Voice of the People television. I am Fina Okechukwu. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Botswana's new president, Duma Boko, has announced his intention to legalize undocumented Zimbabweans by granting them temporary work and residence permit. He said this was because they do jobs that would otherwise not get done in the country. Boko made the disclosure before his historic inauguration on Friday. Botswana hosts the world's second largest community of Zimbabweans fleeing their country's economic woes. The decision is not likely to be popular in the diamond-rich Southern African nation, but Boko, 54, who has just unseated the ruling party that was in power for 58 years, said it was part of his plans to revive the economy. President Boko said it was a challenge when thousands of Zimbabweans entered Botswana through the long and porous border between the two countries. It is unclear exactly how many Zimbabweans are in Botswana, but thousands have been coming back and forth since Zimbabwe's economy imploded because of the hyperinflation that happened 2 decades ago. Some have also sought political refuge. Statistics that are available shows that Zimbabweans account for 98% of water-stamped illegal migrants. Chad President Mohamed Idris Deby says his country's military has killed many Boko Haram jihadists and wounded others in airstrikes. Deby made the disclosure while fielding questions from newsmen yesterday in the Lake Chad region without giving specific numbers. He said he had personally launched the counterattack against Boko Haram, which targeted the Chadian army in an attack last month in the western region, close to the border with Nigeria. According to him, the Chad government had vowed to obliterate Boko Haram when launching its operation in late October after the jihadists killed around 40 people and wounded dozens more in a raid on a military garrison. Interim Prime Minister Abdurrahim Birame Hamidi last week told reporters that the operation was aimed not only to secure their peaceful population, but also to hunt down, root out, and obliterate the capability of Boko Haram and its affiliates to cause harm. It was gathered that the Lake Chad region's countless assets serve as hideouts for jihadist groups such as Boko Haram and its offshoot Islamic State in West Africa, terrorists who carry other regular attacks on the country's army and civilians. Meanwhile, Sudan's new appointed Foreign Affairs Minister, Ambassador Ali Yusuf, has met with Egyptian Foreign Affairs Minister Badr Abdel Attai in Cairo. The meeting aimed to strengthen bilateral relations between Sudan and Egypt, with Abdel Attai announcing that Egypt would host a second forum for Sudanese political and civil society groups. This follows the July Sudanese Parties Conference, which produced a roadmap for addressing Sudan's ongoing crisis. Abdel Attai emphasized that Egypt fully supports Sudanese state institutions as they are vital for the country's unity and stability. He also stressed that Sudanese national security is closely tied to Egypt's own security, given the shared history and geographic proximity of the two nations. Egypt's commitment to Sudan is rooted in their long-standing fraternal relationship in the Nile Valley. The upcoming forum would focus on 3 key objectives: establishing a ceasefire, stopping the flow of foreign weapons, and ensuring an inclusive dialogue involving all Sudanese political and civil society groups. Egypt remains dedicated to ending the bloodshed in Sudan and helping the country emerge stronger from the crisis. Egypt's Civil Aviation Ministry has announced that Burj Al Arab and Luxor International Airport have been re-licensed. Engineer Ayam Arab, chairman of the holding company for airports and air navigation, and a number of leaders from the Civil Aviation Authority attended the certificate handover ceremony. Amr El-Shakwai, head of Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority, handed over the licenses to Ahmed Mansour, chairman of the Egyptian Airports Company. Obtaining these certificates comes with the framework of the civil aviation sectors, the keenness to apply all the requirements of the International Civil Aviation Organizers, ICAO, and in accordance with the legislations issued by the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority. In this context, Sami Hifni affirmed that granting licenses by the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority to both El Aramia and Solan International Airport and renewing their licenses for both Berg El Arab and Luxor International Airport is a new step added to the series of successes achieved by the Egyptian airport system. Egyptian airports are subject to periodic inspections by the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority to ensure their compliance with all international standards and conditions, and continue their development effort to obtain continuous license renewal for all airports in the Republic, which contributes to enhancing Egypt's role in the civil aviation industry. President William Ruto has expressed Kenya's desire to join the BRICS group of emerging economies, seeking China's support for the country's membership. In a meeting with Li Shi, a former official for China's Communist Party, Ruto made a direct appeal for China's backing, also requesting support for Kenya's candidate in the upcoming African Union Commission chairperson election. The call comes as Kenya aims to align itself with nations challenging Western political and economic dominance. But during the discussions, Ruto reaffirms Kenya's commitment to the One China policy and highlighted the importance of strengthening Kenya-China relations across Africa. Kenya's pursuit of BRICS membership comes at a time when the group, which already includes major players like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is expanding. Recent additions such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE have broadened BRICS' influence, with its collective control over 28% of the global economy. BRICS offers significant opportunities for economic cooperation, positioning itself as a key rival to the Western-led G7 bloc. South Africa's radical opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters EFF, appears to be on a downward spiral after another high-profile member defected to ex-President Jacob Zuma's party. Dali Mpofu, an advocate and former EFF chairperson, told local media that after much soul-searching, he had decided to join the Umkhonto Wesiwezi MK, or Spare of the Nation. Mpofu expressed the belief that MK is a vehicle that will achieve the much-needed black and progressive unity. Led by the firebrand Julius Malema, the EFF had strong support among South Africa's burgeoning young population, frustrated with the slow pace of political and economic reforms since the end of the racist system of apartheid in 1994. But the EFF suffered a major setback in the May general election when, instead of achieving its goal of rising for the country's third biggest party to second, it dropped to fourth. It lost support to MK in the first election the party contested after its formation last year. Zuma spearheaded the party's campaign, making a dramatic comeback after he was imprisoned in 2021 for contempt of court over his refusal to cooperate with a judge-led inquiry into corruption during his presidency. The two parties share similar economic policies, including the exploitation of white-owned land and the state ownership of mines and banks. Mpofu's defection follows that of Malema's deputy, Floyd Shivambu, and two lawmakers, Mwalene Mani and Busiweze Mukohwebane. The new Patriotic Party parliamentary candidate for Yilo Korobo constituency in the eastern region of Ghana, Dr. Richard Tom Barima, has pledged to secure the constituency seat in this year's election, ending the long dominance of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Dr. Tom expressed confidence in his chance, citing several development projects he has initiated over the years. He acknowledged that the NDC has held the seat since 1992, but noted that despite years of representation, the constituency has not seen significant development. He pointed out that previous MPs, including Albert Tete Yakote, has failed to meet the need of the people, assuring voters that he would bring a new direction to the constituency if elected. Meanwhile, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo has implored Ghanaians to throw their full support behind Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and the new Patriotic Party (NPP) in the upcoming December polls. Speaking at a rally in the Abdekuma Central constituency, she emphasized that voting for Dr. Bawumia would ensure the continuity of key government projects and drive economic prosperity for the nation. Mrs. Akufo-Addo highlighted the successes of the NPP government, including the Free SHS initiative and the Agenda 111 project, which she said would be at risk if another party came to power. Protests erupted again in Mozambique's capital as thousands rallied yesterday over alleged vote rigging in the October 9 presidential election, which extended the Frelimo party's rule. Demonstrators calling for a peaceful march faced tear gas and rubber bullets from security forces. Amnesty International reported that since late October, at least 20 people have died and hundreds have been injured or detained, with internet restriction and social media blocks also imposed, according to Human Rights Watch. Opposition leader Venancio Mondlane, who came in second in the election, has reportedly fled the country following targeted attacks against members of his Podemos party. Accusing Frelimo of election manipulation, Podemos has sought legal recourse and organized days-long marches, though Mozambique's Electoral Commission declared Frelimo's candidate, Daniel Chapo, as the winner with over 70% of the vote. Neighboring South Africa has since tightened border security, while SADC plans to address the crisis in a meeting in Zimbabwe next week. You're watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. More stories after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's still the African News and Voice of the People television. Sudan has begun its first malaria vaccination program, even as the country faces a 18-month civil conflict. The initiative aims to vaccinate around 148,000 children under 12 months across 15 sites in the Darif and Blue Nile states. Led by the Federal Ministry of Health in partnership with UNICEF, WHO, and Gavi, the campaign received its first shipment of 186,000 vaccine doses in October, marking Sudan as one of the initial 16 African countries to introduce the malaria vaccine. By 2025 and 2026, the vaccination program is expected to expand to 129 sites nationwide, aiming to reduce hospital admission and child mortality. Malaria remains a serious health crisis in Sudan, with over 3.4 million cases and nearly 7,900 estimated deaths in 2023. UNICEF notes that the actual numbers may be higher due to the conflict, which has displaced over 14 million people and disrupted communication channels across the country. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People television. After this quick break, we'll have Mr. Peter Anosike in the studio for the news analysis. Do stay with us. Welcome back to African News and Voice of the People Television. We have Mr. Peter Anosike, who is a seasoned reporter and also an author in the studio. And he's here with us in this studio this afternoon in the capacity of a political analyst and a public affairs commentator. Good day, Mr. Peter.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. We need to look at the Mozambique election. We heard that for some days now, this election happened on the 9th of October, but Mozambicans have been protesting, saying that the results which their electoral commission gave to them is not what they want. In fact, it got to a point, according to what the Amnesty International reported, they say 20 people have died as a result of the protest of Mozambicans against this result. What do you have to say about this?
Well, this is one of the issues in Africa. That is an election not reflecting the wishes of the people. It is not just in Mozambique, it has happened all over. That was what triggered the crisis in the other countries. We had it in Zimbabwe, in Kenya, and other countries. And imagine the United States presidential election, even though the ruling party lost the election, but the candidate, Kamala Harris, considered victory within 24 hours.
What do you make of this? Is it that the people of Africa are becoming more, aware of their political rights, making sure we have a new leader? For example, in Kenya, there were protests in Kenya. It erupted over the government policies. And also in Nigeria, we have the hashtag #EndBadGovernance that also happened from 1st of August till. And now in Mozambique, the people are saying, give us who we need, even when the Electoral Commission declared Frelimo candidate. I'm talking about Daniel Chapo, winner of this election with over 70% of the votes.
For me, it is a kind of awareness. That's social media is doing a lot. It's opening people's eyes. So people are no more in darkness as they were 20, 30 years ago, because the legacy media, which is usually owned by government and the politicians, we are not telling the people the truth. But now with the social media, everybody can now stay in his or her home and know what is happening in the other parts of the world.
Good that I made mention of social media, but in Mozambique we heard that the people are being denied access to social media platforms. In fact, as a matter of fact, social media presence in Mozambique is being banned. And the reason, according to the government, is that they wouldn't want the issue of the protest to intensify. And they don't want whatever thing that is happening there to go out. And this is being reported by international body. Now, isn't that an infringement on the right of the people or the right of the citizens?
Why they are banning social media, it has become the biggest source of mobilization of people in this age and time. So social media has become the biggest source of mobilization. And that's what happened in Iran. Immediately, protesters, they went and stopped all their telecom companies. Then Elon Musk has to use his standing to give them data and so on and so forth. So that is what they always do when they don't want the evil that they are doing in their country to get out.
So you also share the line of thought that this is more like the highest level of gagging the people and infringement on their rights.
That is what it is.
A quick one, a move away from that story. The Chad president, Mohamed Idris Deby, he said that the military has killed many Boko Haram jihadists, especially within the borders they share between Nigeria. And this also led to Nigeria coming up, or the Nigerian defense coming up today or yesterday to tell Nigerians about a new terrorist group
in Sokoto
that have also emerged in the northwestern state.
Yes, in Sokoto state.
What do you really make of the jihadist activities in Africa?
So these people are coming from the failed state of Libya, understand, Sudan, and so on and so forth. And, the Chad basin is a boundary between Chad and Nigeria. that's where Boko Haram initially started in 2002, because there we are farming there using the Chad basin. There's an irrigation there. So, but right now, because of the climate change, the Chad basin is drying up. So that farming is no more going on there, and those people who are supposed to be farming are now going into terrorism, banditry as a way of survival.
Are you saying that we have a reason for people to commit crime? Is that what you're saying? Drying of the lake Chad leading to people joining another thing?
It used to be a very big farm. People use that to farm there, but they have been dislocated. Understand? So that has made them idle, and as they say that an idle hand is a devil's workshop.
But some people have this line of thought that the whole jihadist movement, the whole attacks, terrorism happening in Africa is a case of ideology. Some say it's more like a religious cleansing. Mr. Peter, do you share that line of thought too?
Well, it could be part of it, but the drying up of the Chad also contributed to idle hands.
But we have people also, those that happen to be from the Niger Republic, complaining about the issue of insurgent groups emanating there. We also have wars in other places, like in Sudan, South Sudan, also they're fighting in Sudan. And it is trickling down towards this direction.
It is all over Africa. That was why America and France had their stations in Niger, just as a way of fostering the advancement of this.
So you think it is not a religious war?
No, the religion is part of it.
Is it more of religious war than economic reason?
Indoctrination. People use religion, philosophies to commit a number of havoc.
You know why I ask is that most of the terrorist group that we have, they intend to have a certain ideology. For example, Boko Haram is against Western education, but they are not against
Western ammunition.
They are against Western education, but they're not against Western ammunition, and also
that's a contradiction. Once you reject something, you should reject everything concerning it in totality. You cannot be against Western education and you are using Western ammunition. So, but all this is borders on indoctrination. When youths are being brainwashed, when they don't have enough education to counter what they are being fed, this is what causes all this thing. Understand? When all you are told that if you die, you become a martyr. Understand me? So this is part of it, but the main thing is lack of education.
Lack of education.
Lack of education.
And who are we going to hold responsible for this one?
Government.
Even when some people's ideologies say we don't need it, are we still going to hold? You know what they say? You can force a horse to the brook, but you can't force the horse to drink from it. Are you still going to?
If government is providing enough enlightenment, enough education, understand? Because just like in Nigeria, we have that's a National Orientation Agency, which is supposed to be feeding the masses on the virtues of their country, and so on and so forth. But that is not being done.
All right, a quick move away. We'll have to go back again to Botswana, where the newly elected president of Botswana, Boko, come up to make a declaration. He said he's granting temporary work and residence permit to people from Zimbabwe who have been fleeing their country due to economic war to come over into the country. Do you think in any way that the influx of the Zimbabweans into Botswana is going to in any way help the diamond-rich country and their economy?
Well, I've been to Botswana once, and Botswana, that's one thing, I went to a bank in Botswana, understand? I turned my back, or the president was queuing up behind me, the president of the country. Understand? You know, it is being run as a socialist state. So everything or the people are being provided a lot of the things. There's communal, there's communism there. Understand? So they are not as hardworking as the capitalist countries like South Africa, so on and so forth. So this could be the reason why they need more hands in the economy. But the economy is really doing well.
Bring it back again to Nigeria, where some time ago, a certain president opens the border of Nigeria saying people can come in. And that, with that particular statement, influx of foreigners into the country also led to what we have today as what some people would tag insecurity. Don't you think that, because the data out there says 98% of Zimbabweans make up what is termed irregular migrants. Won't this also in any way, in a way, downturn the economic achievement or growth of people of Botswana? Like you rightly said, they have a strong one.
Basically, I'm not in support of open border. I'm not in support of open border, and that's a crisis between Mexico and the United States. People coming in should be vetted, should be scrutinized. They must be good people. Understand? So I'm not in support of open border because a lot of criminals, bandits take advantage of that open border stuff. So people going into another country should be properly vetted, because now it looks good on the surface, but at the end of the day, they might regret this decision if you are not vetting the people that are coming into your country.
They say they don't even know how many thousands of the people from Zimbabwe that happen to be residing now in Botswana. Okay. But a quick move away from that story. Sudan's new appointed Foreign Affairs Minister, Ambassador Ali Yusuf, he is in talk with Egypt, their Foreign Affairs Minister also, but Abdel Attai in Cairo. And this whole meeting is about strengthening their bilateral relations. Now, my question is this. Do you think that there can actually have or be a good bilateral relation between Sudan and Egypt, given the fact that now Sudan is more like a war-torn country?
Sudan is war-torn, but you should also know that Sudan has the largest number of Muslims in Africa. And Egypt is like a big brother in the Arab world. That's why Egypt is involved in the negotiation between Hamas and Gaza. Egypt is respected in the Arab world. So I feel that this could be the reason, understand? Countries are free to enter non-alignment agreements. That's to bolster social security, economy, and so on and so forth.
Wouldn't that sound more like a downturn to more aiding Sudan over the South Sudan with the war that is ongoing in that region?
That may be, in a way, it could be, but it is better that to solve a problem from the inside than from the outside.
So you're saying that the fraternal relationship between Egypt
might help on the war.
But they are not the only ones that have this relationship with them from the Nile Valley. Why? What is the interest of this Egyptian prime minister or Egypt as a nation in the war in Sudan? That's what a lot of people are asking.
Well,
do you have any idea on that?
Egypt has been a peace-seeking country. Mind you, when Donald Trump, during his first term, wanted the Abraham Accord in the Middle East, Egypt was also part of it. In this war between Gaza and Israel, that's Hamas and Israel, Egypt and Qatar are among in the negotiating team. So Egypt has been playing this kind of role that to pacify war countries in crisis. So this could be all the reason that this meeting is going on.
Yeah, it's part of what I said. They say the upcoming forum, is centered on making sure that they establish a ceasefire, they stop the inflow of foreign weapons, and also ensuring inclusive dialogue involving all Sudanese political and the civil society region. Yeah. A quick one. The wars in Africa. Some Africans says that this has a Western hand in it, Western interference. Do you also share the line of thought that some of the wars that we're having in Africa has to do with the war between the West and the East?
Most of them. Most of them, because even in the time past, Western wars were using machineries to overthrow governments in Africa. because right now there's a scrambling for Africa going on between Europe, Russia, and China.
Even after the 1884 partitioning of Africa, we're having a new one.
Partition is going on right now. Oh. Anywhere Americans move out, Russians will enter. Understand? So partition is going on now, and that's to do this. They cause war, they cause hunger, and when they cause hunger, you will need food. They will send you aids. When they send you aids, you have become a part of them.
So you're, in other words, you're saying that we're still having the neocolonialism activities happening even among sovereign nations.
IMF, World Bank are neo-colonialist organizations.
Why do you say so?
Because they are used to keep Africa down. And when you are down, you need help. Understand? For them to give you help, you have to sign some agreement.
Are they not financial institutions that are just there to make their business bloom? Are they forcing African leaders to go get money or borrow loans from them?
Not directly, but indirectly.
How indirectly do they do that?
No, when your economy is crippled, you must need help. You must need external help. And when your country don't have enough resources, you have to look outside your shores.
Bring it back to Nigeria, a country that is blessed with rich mineral resources. Over 250.
But lack leadership
hold
to
on.
harness it.
Are we now still blaming World Bank and IMF for the inability of African leaders to harness the economy that God gave them and push the continent forward?
That Nigeria economy fell for the first time in 1985 when Babangida was forced to implement what is known as SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. Structural Adjustment Program was basically IMF program. And for you to benefit from IMF loan or World Bank loan, they give you conditions, which include the removal of subsidy, cutting of social welfare, and the devaluation of your currency. These are IMF World Bank policies. And you cannot devalue your currency and recover from it.
But yet, people still run to IMF, people still run to World Bank, even when they know all these policies. So are we still going to keep on reading the book, Walter Rodney wrote, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, even, for example, Nigeria as a case study, 64 years old?
This is a leadership problem. This is a leadership problem. The young guy in Burkina Faso, Traoré, rejected the IMF fund.
Talking about the IMF fund and how the West and the East is dragging or trying to partition Africa after it happened in 1884, the Kenyan President William Ruto expressed desire to join the BRICS group of emerging economies, seeking China's support for the country's membership. What do you have to say about this?
Well, you know, Nigeria is also a nominal member at the moment. Nigeria is now a nominal member of the BRICS. I know that name will be changed soon.
How soon? And why do you say so?
BRICS just stands for the 5 countries that formed it.
Yeah.
Understand? So now they now have more than 14 countries, which means there's no way they will continue with that name. It was Brazil, Russia, India, China, then South Africa.
Yes.
That's what it's called, BRICS. So with 14 other people joining in their last meeting, that name is going to be changed. And they are working hard to confront Europe and the United States, because their aim is also to make their own currency as powerful as the dollar. But
with the economic challenges that is bedeviling Africa, with the wars that we're seeing in Africa, do you think that during the equation of matching of members of the BRICS, do you think all these other countries can be added in changing the BRICS nation, given the fact that economic strength is important in maintaining that status quo?
China is a powerhouse. Russia is an emerging powerhouse. And mind you, this BRICS nation now constitute over 40% of the world population. India has 1 point something billion. China has 1 point something billion. Understand? So they are already constituting over 40% of the world population. And trade is more about numbers.
Trade is more about numbers. So you think very soon the likes of Ethiopia, the likes of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and all that will be added to the BRICS nation?
What guides foreign policies is interest. Where your interest will be served.
Okay. And without that, talking about interest, in South Africa, the parties in South Africa are kind of having issues. There's cross-carpeting. Some people are leaving a particular political party to join the one that was before the election labeled, a bad party. I'm talking about the Mukohonto, where is a party, MK, that happens to have Jacob Zuma to be the leader. Do you think this time around that the grip of Jacob Zuma in South Africa is still strong enough that opposition political parties cannot even stand it?
You know, the Ramaphosa party couldn't form a cabinet of its own. And for you to do that, you have to enter into accord with other parties to enable you form a cabinet. This is what happened in 1979 in Nigeria when we talk about NPN and MPP accord. Because Shehu Shagari then couldn't get enough majority to form his cabinet. He has to enter into accord with Nnamdi Azikiwe, the presidential candidate of the Nigeria People's Party then. So this is one thing that happens in cabinet, that's in countries.
It happens in countries. And in Ghana, let's touch on what is happening in Ghana, where the 80-year-old president, I'm talking about the Nana Akufo-Addo, unveiled a statue of himself in Ghana. And he's also sponsoring or championing or throwing his weight behind the Dr. Bawumia, whom everyone is talking about now, as ahead of the Ghana election.
Yes.
Do you think that with that unveiling of the statue, it's in any way going to affect the outcome of that election?
Well, election is about human beings, not about statues. And it depends on the record that he has. Understand? On the record that he has as when he was the president. If it was good, then people will buy into it. Election is run on records. And that is one of the things that Donald Trump used to win Kamala Harris. Because Americans voted, how is your life now compared to 4 years ago when Donald Trump was in power? So in every election, the fundamentals always carry the day. And the number one fundamental is economy. Number one fundamental is economy. How is the economy doing? Is it doing better now or before? These are the yardsticks that people always vote on, the fundamental.
But we have also seen, especially in Africa, how individual influence affects the results of elections, even as people come out to decide who they want. So are you now still saying that with the unveiling of the big statue of Nana Akufo-Addo and the way he has been going about chiming his voice for Bawumia, are you still now saying that we're going to have a free and fair election in Ghana this December?
For me, if he has a good record as a president, well, that's when he was a president, he can campaign with that. You understand me? He can campaign with that. But influential people don't really win the election. If influential people win the election, Donald Trump wouldn't have won. Because Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hollywood celebrities all supported Harris.
But we also have
economy said wigs. No.
We have big wigs also behind Donald Trump.
Example,
we have big wigs. He's the richest man, as the case may be. We have big wigs financially supporting him. And also in Africa, too, we have people who are also chiming their voice for Donald Trump.
Mind you, Bill Gates donated $50 million donors to Harris' campaign.
We're saying the same thing. Now, bringing it or making or juxtaposing U.S. election.
With all those things, Harris still failed.
Mr. Peter, juxtaposing U.S. election to that of Africa, where political parties don't even have ideology to start with. Remember, we have other political parties in the U.S., but we have the likes of Kennedy yielding way for Trump, holding on to the ideology they have, the Democratic ideology and the Republican ideology. The party actually that won is based on ideology of the party, which the people want to support, not what we see in Africa. For example, Nigeria is our nation. We are here in Nigeria, and just concluded 2023 election. Can you say it does not have influence of certain individuals? I'm talking about the results that we have.
I don't think, because our president, Bola Tinubu, said that he has no godfather, that nobody financed his election. He did it all alone.
I just want you to tell me, as a person, can you say that it just concluded 2023 general election in Nigeria that gets us the leader we have today is a void of personal intervention?
For me, success is all about teamwork. Nobody succeeds alone. So it's not about teamwork. The party that has that the best team wins.
The party that has
the best team.
So in your own words now, the party that won this election that just concluded is the one that should be there.
Which are you talking about?
I'm talking about Nigeria.
Mind you, the difference now, an instance, I still want to compare with the United States. In the United States, we don't have any person as their federal INEC. There's nothing like federal INEC. Understand me? So that's a very big difference between Nigeria and the United States.
And that's why I bring it back to us, because we cannot continue equating ourselves with the United States that have gained their independence over 300 and something years ago.
1776.
And they are also strong enough. Economically, we are not mates, not just economically, political-wise, we're not just mates. We learn democracy from them. You understand? So that's why I was asking, with the way African elections is going, using Nigeria as a case study, will you say that we don't have individual interferences during general elections?
Well, when Obasanjo backed Goodluck Jonathan in 2011, he won. Understand? The same Obasanjo backed Buhari in 2015, he won. So, but for you to do that, you must be in the good book of the people. That's what I'm talking about, your record of achievement. What did you do when you were there? What did you do when you were there? So this is very, very important. But Africa is evolving, even though Nigeria is doing one step forward, 4 steps backwards. But I believe one day we will get there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anosike, for this wonderful analysis. I really appreciate. Mr. Peter Anosike is a seasoned reporter, and also he is an author par excellence. And he's here in the studio this afternoon in the capacity of a public and a political affairs analyst. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And this is Voice of the People Television African News. After this quick break, we'll go back to all the bulletins that made it to today's news. Welcome back to African News and Voice of the People TV. A landslide in Western Cameroon has claimed the lives of at least 4 people, with over 50 still missing after 3 passengers' buses and several road workers were buried under debris. Torrential rain weakened the soil along a key highway between the Shang and Douala, triggering the collapse. Cameroon's Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ngano Jomesi, confirmed that rescue efforts are ongoing to recover victims, with survivors receiving medical attention. The tragic incident comes amid a season of severe flooding across West Africa, impacting Cameroon and neighboring countries like Nigeria, where over 1,000 lives have been lost this year. West Region Governor Augustine Awafonka noted that landslides and road degradation are increasingly common due to relentless rain, which Jomesi attributed to climate change. Morocco's population has risen by nearly 3 million over the last decade, reaching 36.8 million as of September 1, 2024, according to the latest census. Presented yesterday by the government spokesperson, the data also shows a rise in household to 9.27 million, an increase of nearly 2 million since 2014. Authorities see the census as essential for crafting data-driven policies across national and local sectors. Morocco, the second most populous Maghreb nation, has experienced significant demographic and social changes. A 2011 UNDP report indicated fertility rate has dropped by 2.3 children per woman, down from 5.5 over the previous 30 years, a shift attributed to economic progress and improved human development indicators. And in business, Angola Liquefied Natural Gas, ALNG, is evaluating expansion plans, possibly adding a 3 million ton per year, a mini train, as new gas supplies increase. Angola, Africa's second largest oil producer, aims to leverage on natural gas potential to meet rising demands in Europe and Asia. Supply boosts from Chevron and the new gas consortium are expected by 2025, which will bring ALNG to full capacity for the first time since its $12 billion launch over a decade ago. Current gas production meets only 70,000 of ALNG's capacity, but the new gas consortium operated by BP and Eni under Azule Energy plans to bring online its gas project earlier than expected in late 2025. Angola's ambitious 25 years gas master plan aims to develop over 40 gas fields, tapping into an estimated 38 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves. The Reserve Bank of Malawi has maintained its policy rate at 26% as it navigates domestic economic challenges and inflation risks. Despite an expected economic growth of 2.3% in 2024, the central bank expressed concern about the rapid expansion in money supply. Projected growth in 2025 could reach 4.3%, but factors like adverse weather and foreign exchange shortages continue to limit the nation's economic progress. You're still watching the African News and Voice of the People TV, stories and sports after the break. Stay with us.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people. and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Catch up with the latest topics making the buzz, the stories that tick, the trends. Let's let you in on why they are trending, from politics, entertainment, business, lifestyle, and more. Analyzing the trending stories with top eyeballs. Hashtag on Voice of the People Television, giving you an insight to everything and everyone Nigeria is talking about. Showing on VOP TV, 10 p.m. Monday to Friday. Hashtag, if it's trending, we bring it on.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. It's still African News on Voice of the People TV. Moving on to sports news. Super Eagles assistant coach Daniel Ogumodede has emphasized that the upcoming Group D qualifiers against Benin Republic and Rwanda will be treated as crucial. He made mention of this as the Eagles' nearly qualification for the 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco, needing just a single point from their next two matches to secure their spot. Currently leading Group D with 10 points from 4 games, including 3 victories and a draw, the Eagles are well positioned for success. Ogumodede also commented on the 23-man squad recently announced by head coach Austin Eguavo, highlighting the team's readiness for the challenges ahead. Cheetahs head coach Genero has announced a 24-man roster ahead of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying matches against Nigeria and Libya, remaining loyal to the core team. Raw has included key players such as goalkeeper Saturnin Alagbe, defender Olivia Verdon, and forward Junior Olaiton, alongside captain Steve Money and standout performers Jodel Dosu and Ayegun Tosin. The Cheetahs are set to face Nigeria Super Eagles at the Feli Houphouët-Boigny Stadium in Abidjan on November 14. 4 days later, they will conclude their qualifying campaign with an away clash against Libya. Currently, the West African side holds second place in Group D, having secured 6 points from 4 matches as they strive to secure their position for the upcoming tournament. Africa Women's Champions League will not expand from its 8-team finals format for the foreseeable future, according to top football officials on the continent. The 4th edition of the tournament will kick off in Morocco tomorrow, with Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa set to defend their title. Financial limitations are the main reason why the Confederation of African Football, CAF, will not increase the numbers of teams competing or switch to copy the structure of the 16-team men's equivalent, which uses home and away games across 6 group stage matches before 2-legged knockout ties for the quarter-finals onward. CAF's priority is to use the component and competition to improve the quality of domestic leagues around the continent, which is then anticipated to have a knock-on effect and boost the standard of national sides. There is once again a more changed lineup for this year's Women's Champions League, with 5 sides appearing for the first time. A total of 23 different clubs have featured since the inaugural tournament in 2021, with 2 times champion Sundowns and Morocco's Asfa, the winners in 2022, both ever present. CAF says it has increased the prize money on offer by 52% this year, with every side guaranteed at least $150,000. The winners of the final of the 23rd November are set to pick up a check for $600,000, while the runner-ups will win $4,000 respectively. And that is it on the African News on Voice of the People TV. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV. And on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I am Fina Okechukwu. Good afternoon.